This is Diana.
And this is Diana.
Chisme con propósito, porque si vamos a hablar, vamos a decir algo.
Si venimos por el chisme,
pero nos quedamos por el crecimiento.
Porque hablar se nos da,
pero reflexionar también.
Because if we're gonna talk, we're gonna say something.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We just want to start off by saying thank you for giving us a week off. I mean, y'all didn't give it to us. We gave it to ourselves. But thank you so much. I feel like Diana and I have been so busy with work. And it's just, it's admission. Yeah, and life. But honestly, work for me. I have no life.
Yeah.
Work is life. But yeah, thank you so much.
We're back here with
some chisme.
It's hard to believe.
No, yo solo trabajo y duermo. Nothing else.
No más eso. Nada más.
Yes. But, we're back and we're really excited. We got a chance to, meet up and kind of talk about like what do we want the rest of the season to look like. So stay tuned for all these really great plans that we have. But with that being said, Diana, how are you doing, dude?
How am I doing? I feel like we always start these sessions and I'm like, how am I really feeling? I'm doing good given everything. Yes, last week was hectic. I think we got together and we were going to record and we were both like, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm tired too. Like, we can't do this. So definitely thank you for giving us grace. But I'm doing well, giving everything. Life is lifing. Work is busy. It is post-admission decisions, events happening like everywhere, so it's just a busy spring all around, but overall we're here.
Yes, aquí estamos y no nos vamos. But yeah, I mean, like Diana said, I think it's been really busy for us just in general with work and life. But we're doing, aquí estamos haciendo la luchita, I don't think we were just talking about this earlier. We actually had to restart the recording because Diana did not connect her mic properly. So we're going to drag her for that. But one of the things that we had mentioned when we had first started recording was the whole idea of this is not the life that we imagined for ourselves. But I think it's like such a great life, right? I think despite challenges and just like shit that happens, I think that tenemos like I think que somos bendecidas, that this is a life that we choose, that we are able to have choices and options, and that we can really say like, I don't want to do this is what I want to do, and not really have to depend on anyone to like do things.
Yes, I feel like, especially for me, it was Sunday. I was just reflecting. I had a heavy day on Sunday, y'all. Chisme for another day. I'm not ready to share, but I was just very reflective in how privileged I am to have the job that I have, and how I landed this job, but also the benefits that come with it. Being able to just walk into a ER or like just get medical help, right? It's so easy because of like the benefits, right? And some people don't have that luxury, unfortunately, or there is, right, because they can go, but the wait times are longer. The level of service that they may be getting is not the same. So if you were to ask me, the younger Diana, what I would be doing in my 30s, I didn't think it would be this for sure. I don't know what I thought I would be doing, but like I think like you said, que somos bien bendecidas overall.
I know, honestly. I agree. But starting off with our weekly chisme, I told Diana I can start us off. So as we've talked in the past, both of us are single, and I literally told my therapist the other day, I was like, Isaura, I don't want to date this year. Like, I don't want to settle down in a relationship. Like, I just want to, live young, wild, and free. And so I've been talking about like, I need to build a roster. And, I have been trying to build a roster, and so I have a player.
You have
on the team.
I feel like yes, my girl has been trying.
I've been trying. So I have currently like a player on the team. We'll call him like player one, And, player one, it's something that has been happening. I feel like we have like a steady schedule, but I wasn't really thinking of it as like scheduled. I was just like, oh, this
Mm-hmm.
is a person that like I hit up, he hits me up, and, we
Mm-hmm.
see what happens. And the
Mm-hmm.
other day I was talking to my friend Erica, and I was kind of telling her like, oh, player one, like this and that. And she was like, Diana, she's like, you're just one of the girls on his roster. And I was like, wait, I'm over here saying he's on my roster, but I'm on his
Mm-hmm.
roster. But that's when I realized, wow, I've grown, because I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't upset. I was more
Mm-hmm.
like,
I should get to
I
that
was
level.
inspired. Yes. I was like, you know what? You're right, dude. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I need to get to his level. Like, I need to have someone like for
Mm-hmm.
every weekend. Don't quote
Mm-hmm.
me on that, y'all. Like, I don't want this to bite me in the ass later when I'm like talking seriously to someone. But I was just like, you know what? Like, I need to build a roster. And so that was really
Mm-hmm.
a conversation I had with my friends last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I am inspired. I am motivated. If
Mm-hmm.
any of you listening have single friends that would be my type, tell them, shoot me a DM. But
Make
that's what I
make an
got.
introduction, please.
Please.
Please, please.
But
No, but
but
I feel
yeah.
like you have been trying. You've been very intentional, and I feel like you are clear with what you want and don't want. So you keep going at it. You're gonna build a roster. I know you are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right. My weekly chisme, it kind of involves both of us, but wasn't last Friday. It was 2 weeks ago at this. No, it was a
Hmm.
week ago. It
About
was
a week ago.
about a week ago on a Friday. Um, Diana and my sister, our producer, estaban, let's go see Rick. Let's go see Rick. Because according to TikTok, if you go and get box office tickets the day of, you can find really good deals and even like floor seats for just like cheaper prices. I wasn't going to go because I worked
She
early the next
swore.
day.
She
I was like,
swore.
no, váyanse sin me. I got to get up early. I had to like go to work and be there by 7. I was like, no, no voy a ir. Al último me convencieron. Y ahí va la Diana. Going out, getting ready last minute. We went and got box office like tickets. We chugged like, I think I chugged like 2 of the VMCs. Y'all chugged a
Mm-hmm.
VMC and like a buzz ball and a half, just to save on drinks because drinks are expensive in there, y'all. Un, a tall can, it's like $20. It's ridiculous.
That is crazy.
It is. Anyways, we got box office tickets. We did not get floor tickets. We got good tickets for a good
They
price
were
because
good. I mean, we could see them.
yeah, we were like to the side y se miraban bien, de cerquita, se escuchaba bien. It was a really good concert. I feel like it brought me back to my high school days with all their songs. I didn't know a lot of their new songs, so I couldn't sing along, but the ones that we did, I feel like we were in it. So it was just a good healing experience. I feel for the three of us. We needed it so bad.
Yeah,
Y
honestly, I feel like
luego,
you said, oh
uh-huh.
no, yeah, I was like,
No,
it
go.
healed up
Sorry.
like a part of me.
Yeah, yeah. We needed it. We needed to like sing our hearts out just with everything that has happened this like first quarter of the year.
Honestly.
Yeah. And then, well, we didn't have enough. Salimos. And then they ended up like, I'm going to take you all to the corner bar. And we're like, what corner bar? And it's literally called the Corner Bar in Inglewood. Y pues ahí vamos. And we get there and it wasn't popping. It was kind of like, it's definitely more of like a local bar. I would compare
Mm-hmm.
it to maybe, oh my God, what's the bar in Echo Park? The one next to Bar Flores? Why am I blanking out on the name?
The gold room.
The Gold Room. Yeah, I would definitely compare it to like the Gold Room, but like in Inglewood. So we walk in, definitely a different crowd, different like energy and vibe. And we were there for like a good hour or so or two, I think. But they were
Yeah.
playing like just very old school music. We ended up having like a good time. We left at a decent hour because I was like, as long as I'm in bed by 1 and sleeping, I should be good. No, hombre. I woke up late and I was late to work an hour and I show up and I was so embarrassed. But I swear I thought I was going to be on time, but I wasn't. I was an hour late. But
Diana,
I
an
know. It was
hour?
fine. I know. I know. I was so embarrassed. It was fine. They had a lot of people and a lot of support. Honestly, we didn't even need a lot of people on that day, but we had to be there to support. So that's my cheese
I
man.
do I do want to say that for the Rey concert, because you didn't tell them. So initially, right, we had
Mhm.
told Diana. Diana was like, no, I'm going to go. I was like sending messages in the chat. And I was
Mhm.
like, ándale, Diana, anímate. And she's like, no, I work tomorrow. So then I thought that they were going to be playing on Friday and Saturday. So
Oh
I
yeah.
told Diana, I put in the chat, I was like, okay, dude, like, will you go if we go on
Mhm.
Saturday? And she's like, yeah, I'm down. Honestly, like I hadn't done shit that day. So I had been
Mhm.
rotting in bed all day. So I was like,
Mhm.
honestly, perfect. I don't want to get ready. At this point,
Mhm.
it was already what, like 6 p.m., Diana? Right?
It
Like
was
6
close
p.m.?
to 7.
Close to
I
7. So
yeah.
then Adriana's like, oh, yeah, like, okay, we can do Saturday. Thank God she decides to just double check. Like, she's like, let me just make sure that
Mhm.
there's tickets for Saturday. Turns out they actually weren't performing on Saturday. They were only going to be there on Friday
Like in LA, they were gonna
in
be
LA.
in San Diego on Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we were just like,
So
bueno, si vamos a ir, hay que ir like ahorita.
en chinga nos arreglamos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Diana was
We
just
got
playing
there.
us, dude. I think she was already ready.
No, I wasn't. I swear. And I mean, I had a great time. Wouldn't like change my decision, but y'all, the next day was rough because I worked the whole day. It was rough being out there, but we pulled through. But I will say that I'd be acting like I'm 21, and no, ya las desveladas pesan. Ya pesan. Yeah.
I feel like we just don't know how to say no. Like we could have been fine ending at the Ray concert. Like we could
Yeah.
have left. It would have been very
Mm-hmm.
wholesome of us. But no. We're like, let's hit the bar. Like, let's go. And I even told them, I was like, let's go to the corner bar, dude. It's like so nasty and grimy and it gets like so hot in there. But I was like, it's always a vibe. And I mean, it was like towards the end when we were leaving, like, ya se estaba llenando, but it was like 1 a.m.
Yeah, no. We're like, we gotta go. We gotta go.
I know. Well, that's
Yeah.
our weekly cheeseman for y'all. Stay
Yes.
tuned for juicier
For
cheeseman next
more.
week. But so in terms of the news, again, I feel like me and Diana kind of disconnected from just like the world and the universe, but we still want to continue to drop these little tidbits of news.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things we had talked about, I believe, was like Becky G, like the Coachella, we talked about Coachella weekend 1. And
Mm-hmm.
so, recently, I don't know if people have seen the whole like mariachi that Carol G brought up.
Oh my
Initially
God.
everyone was so
Yes.
happy, was like, yes,
It was all
representation.
female. Yeah.
Yes, and everyone was so excited. And then,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's, a conversation for another day about like what is representation really, and is it truly
Mm-hmm.
representative of like what they say they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, long story short, the mariachi is owned by someone who is like a full-on Trump supporter, and then the mom
Mm-hmm.
of the owner, like la esposa del señor, turns out that she's a part of this like club in Orange County called the Lincoln Club, and they've had people like Christine Nome visit. They actually were a part of like trying to recall Daddy Newsom a few years ago. I don't know if you remember when they're
How
trying to
dare
recall him.
they? Yeah.
Yes, dude.
¿Cómo se atreven?
And yes, and so then there was a lot of like pushback
Mm-hmm.
about the whole mariachi. There was questions if
Mm-hmm.
they were going to be performing with Carol G
Mm-hmm.
during weekend 2. They did end up performing, but there's some clips going around right now on social
Mm-hmm.
media on Sunday when they were performing, and so Becky
Mm-hmm.
G, está cantando con ellas, and she says, and she's like, arriba los, like, los mexicanos, los
Mm.
colombianos, and she's like, and for the people in the back, and she's standing in front of the mariachi, and she points her fingers, like, pointing to the mariachi,
Oh
like,
my
saying, like, in
God.
case y'all didn't hear, for the people in the back. Yeah.
Damn. Okay, Becky G.
I know.
Wow.
We let it go. I know we were talking shit about her a few weeks ago because she still can't find her ex. But she's invited to the carne asada again.
She made it back into the circle.
She's back in the circle. She's back in the circle because we love it. Silence is violence.
Yeah. I mean, she was always in the circle. It's just that, sometimes we may not agree. We may not agree with everything, but she's a true one. I feel like she's out there for the community and representing us. And yeah, there was a lot. Well, this past weekend was weekend 2 right at Coachella. I feel like I'm not super into the whole festival thing. I saw like clips of Karol G. Like her performance was good. I mean, there's a lot showing. And she was like the first Latina headliner, right, to doing 2 weekends. So that's huge. Yeah. And then she announced she's going on tour again. So
Tropico, get that tour.
Yeah. I was like, damn, girl, you're making big moves.
We love that for her. We do.
Yes. I did like that she brought up Peso Pluma. Sorry, I will say that I did like
yeah,
that.
yeah, I did see that.
I was like, yes.
Because who did she last for weekend 1? She only brought out Becky G, huh?
Yeah, it was just Becky G. And then the second one, she brought up Peso Pluma. Yeah.
And J Balvin.
Oh, I have you see that's how disconnected I am. I didn't even. I know, dude. I know. Así me tiene el trabajo. I haven't been all caught
La tiene así el trabajo otra persona.
Bueno fuera.
Ay, Diosito, por favor. Sky Daddy, please. Shout out to Ashley.
I know. All right.
Well, yeah, she also brought out J Balvin.
Okay, I love that.
Just to let you know.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, in other non-pop culture related news, for those of you that are following politics, the governor's race is, it's looking a little messy. It's a little full.
Yeah.
It's hot. But there was someone who was running, and apparently he was like a front runner to win, His name was Eric Swalwell. He ended up, I was like, have we not learned not to freaking put white men on a pedestal? Like, ¿por qué no aprendemos? Anyways, he dropped out of the race last week because of allegations against like sexual misconduct with some of his staffers. And so he has dropped out of the race, which, of course, which in a great turn of events has really brought up Javier Becerra, who is also running for governor. So he's currently neck and neck with Tom Steyer. So, these times are looking a little intense.
Okay, so yes, this is why everyone needs to get out there and vote. Please make sure that you are registered to vote within, where you live. Choose if you're going to do the mail-in or you're going to go like in person. When the when the little like bulletin ballots come to your house, please read them ahead of time and read and understand what's on there, right? So that when the day comes, you are ready and you know what to vote. If you need help, reach out to your friends, create circles, look up what all of these different propositions are. What do they mean to vote yes, to vote no? Like we need to get out there, y'all, because I'm sorry to say this, but we cannot have like a Republican be our governor. Absolutely not. I feel like I somehow feel like protected or safe. I know that there's a lot happening still in the community.
Yes.
Like ICE rates are still there, but to have someone that is for the people and like, doing the work for the people and defending like our communities, I feel like it's so important. So please vote. Please do your due diligence.
Yes, and encourage like your friends and family to vote. There's nothing like an apathetic voter, someone who like doesn't vote. And you really have to think about people that pay taxes that are here in this country and they can't even vote. So like the bare minimum that you can do is vote. And people fought to give you the right to vote.
Exactly. So, and that is so important that there's a lot of people paying taxes, a lot of undocumented community members that they're paying their taxes every year, and yet they can't have any influence on like the policies and laws out there. And we got to hold our leaders accountable too, y'all. So please get out there, do your work. If you have questions, reach out to us. We're here. We can
Yes,
help
we are.
y'all. Yes. Bueno. And other news and kind of like chisme, well, I guess not a chisme, but in other news,
Astrological
kind of like,
news.
yes, astrological news is that we just had a new moon this past Friday, and this new moon was in Aries. So I don't know if y'all felt it. I definitely felt it. And it was like even throughout the weekend, I was like, what's happening? But like with this new moon, it's like new beginnings because the new moon is in Aries, and Aries is someone that's very like courageous and bold. That is what this whole new moon is bringing. It's like a lot of releasing the old ways and setting like new intention. It's like just kind of like reclaiming yourself, right? It's during maybe movement in like places of your life that felt paused. You know, maybe you left something and you're going to pick it back up. It's like the return of energy, and whatever was stuck, it's like moving again. So take that energy in, y'all, for this new moon. I hope it was, you felt it. I feel like I felt it. I love new
I
moons.
felt it.
Yeah, I felt it. I definitely felt it. And then I feel like it's fine to share this, right? But but like they do say that there's like power in like when women menstruate during like the new moons as
Ay,
well.
chill, bruja.
So I feel like we are connected to, you know. Well, I mean, with the women's like cycle is connected to like the moon cycles as well. Like there's
It's
a
true.
whole like history and a lot of work and info around that of how like a women's cycle does follow like the moon as well, and how we are connected to it. So maybe we can do like an episode on that and talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that would be good because I think a lot of people don't realize that, or the fact that like when you're around someone like a really long time, sometimes like your cycles will sync.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
it's
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. In my house, we're kind of synced. We're a few days or like a week apart sometimes. Yeah. Yeah.
Women
Just
are
a heavy,
badasses.
heavy weeks. We
Your
are.
dad,
We
your
are.
dad does not get a break, huh?
He doesn't. Pobrecillo. There was this one day where I think Adriana, my sister, was all like, damn, my dad lives with all women. Ni modo, así le tocó.
Así le tocó,
Yeah.
así le tocó.
Así le tocó.
I know. Well, stay tuned. Like like we've mentioned, we'll continue to do these little chismes, you know, depending on how the news cycle is. But given our current, you know, situation in the world, there's always something to talk about.
There is.
But this week's episode, we kind of wanted to, you know, like we shared, work has been really busy, and a lot of our work is centered. You know, we work in higher ed, and so we wanted to talk about just like higher ed and how it's shaped us, and also, you know, now in the work that we do, like how does it continue to shape us, or maybe you know, maybe the way that we see higher ed has changed now that we work in it versus, you know, being in it. So I guess the first kind of question that I wanted to ask Diana is, how did being a Latina shape, you know, your higher ed journey, both before, during, and after college?
Wow, this is a good one. I feel like before college, it was just something that I knew I had to do. Like I knew I had to go to college. I don't even think I fully even knew what higher education meant. Like I just knew I had to go to college, and navigating the systems, right, of how to apply, what do I need, where do I go, how to pay for it, what does that look like. During college, I mean, I went through a lot. I feel like we all go through that cultural shock when we're at the campuses that we are. It's learning how to, I feel like it's learning sort of like how to translate, you know, not just like a language, but like the culture of being in a higher ed campus, a 4-year, you know, public like university, and understanding the different like classes that you got to take. What does it mean, you know, to meet with an academic advisor? What does it mean to do research? Like there's so much that goes into it, right? And having to learn that, and you kind of, you know, fake it to make it because we're going through it and learning along the way. So yeah, that in itself, I mean, we can go deeper into it. But then after college, I think it has shaped everything. I think where I am today is because of going into higher ed and getting like, a 4 year degree. It's how I was able, because I started working like immediately right after undergrad, and it was through a student job that I had on campus that I was able to then get, professional staff position and the opportunity given to me. So I feel like it has opened a lot of doors. And through that, I've also been able to mentor others, right? That where I saw myself being when I first started, like in college. And I think it's navigating both like the professional settings, but also not forgetting where we're coming from, right? And the struggles that we had to go through, the spaces that we had to like navigate, and always remembering that these spaces were not necessarily built for us, right? We through years, and it goes even beyond us, like years of like a lot of advocacy within the campuses and protesting for there to be cultural centers, for there to be representation even within like undergraduate admission, right? For there to be like recruiters that look like us as well and that are out there in the community. So I think I've learned a lot throughout, not only before, during, but definitely even more so after. And I think that's what still carries me through every day in my job, even though sometimes it's so damn hard to keep going with everything that we learn and we see. And then who are the people leading us and who's in charge, and their lack of just understanding our communities and the state that we live in, right? We are California. There's a huge Latino community right across like California. And yeah, long-winded answer, but I feel like it has shaped who I am today. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I completely agree. I think that's really why me and you get along so well. I think a lot of what you've said, I can really relate to, right? Like this idea of like, I don't know where I'm going, but I know that I have to get there. And, growing up and like being first gen and always hearing these things about like, you have to go to college, you have to go to university, and even like, you have to go to a UC. Like the UC is like the best option, which obvious the best. It's like you have to go to a UC. So I feel like before that was very much like, I just have to get there. And then once I was there, it was like you mentioned, like a culture shock. And I think at some point, like it's kind of, I would say that in the beginning, I was very much trying to assimilate to
very much
to the culture, to the people. I felt like I couldn't be myself. Like I felt like I had to be somebody else in order to feel comfortable. And it wasn't until like I got more involved and I started, going to like El Centro and getting involved in like student orgs, that I really was like, oh wow, like I don't have to pretend to be somebody I'm not in order to like feel safe. Because I think a lot of like why we assimilate is not because we're ashamed of who we are. I think a lot of times it's like, how can I be safe? Like what's going to protect me? And a lot of times like you think that the best way to protect yourself is to assimilate, to not be different from like others, to fit in. And so I would say that my first year or two, it was very much like trying to assimilate. And then my last 2 years were kind of being able to be in spaces with people who look like me, who had similar experiences to myself. Having mentors that were Latinos, that were Latinas. And I was like, oh, wow. I don't have to be somebody that I'm not. Like, I can just be myself. And so then kind of seeing myself be represented in like these spaces, I think really shifted the way that I saw higher ed. And I think even then, I think it's kind of what propelled me to then go on and work in higher ed, because I didn't know this was a job. Like I didn't know that I could do this for a living. But thankfully, I kind of similar to you, right? I think it's like we had the opportunity to work in spaces on campus, and those student jobs got us into our jobs now. So I would say after college, I very much I feel like it, even when I was at Santa Cruz, I didn't really think or have a concept of like the different pathways to get to UC Santa Cruz.
Yes.
Like I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize, oh, you could go to a community college, you could
And
go
then
to Cal State,
transfer.
yeah, and then transfer. Like all these things were so vague in my head, and it wasn't until I was like an
Mm-hmm.
admissions counselor and then I was breaking it down for students that I was like, damn, like yo estoy aprendiendo con ellos because there were things that
Yes.
I didn't even know.
Absolutely. And I think that's yeah, I think that's why we get along so well. We can talk for hours. Porque I reflecting back on like my experience, I feel like I would have benefited so much from going to a community college and then transferring, because my first quarter, I remember I struggled so much academically. Like the rigor of the college courses is so different than what we were taught like in high school. And there's only so much, right, these schools can prepare us for. If they lack resources, there's only so much, right, that we can do. And like going back, I'm like, I could have gone to community college, really prepared myself, and then gone to a 4 year. So a lot of like what we do now, and what I always do with students is that like explaining, right, the different pathways and also empowering them to feel proud about that, because there is a lot of stigma around, oh, like if you're going to community college, that's like 13th grade, like you got to get into a
Mm-hmm.
4 year. And it's like, no, that's not for everyone. Like you're following your own pathway, and you're going to get to the point that you need to through your own like work, through your own like sacrifices and achievements as well. And it's going to look different for everyone. And I think we need to, challenge all these like myths and these what's the word, demystify
Stigmas.
like all of these myths and stigmas as well, because yeah, there's different pathways. You can go to community college and then transfer to a CSU or a UC. Both options are fine, or you can go straight from high school to a CSU, or a UC or a private as well, and that's completely fine. And I think we need to support, our community members that want to do that as well, family members as well that want to do that. And I think something else that I've also learned is that maybe sometimes that's not for everyone. While we promote
Yeah,
education, and I think that it opens a lot of like doors and opportunities. And Latinos are becoming, right, like the most will be dominating, right, in terms of like races soon. But we need to also
I
be
think so. Yeah,
educated. So I think, yes, education is super important. I'm always going to advocate for it, but I also recognize that that sometimes may not be for everyone, right? So look into programs at the community colleges, right? There's different like vocational programs that you can do to get licensing certifications, and that as well will open doors. But education is, I feel like we will always say it's super important, and it really does shape your future, and we gotta like break those chains, right? And I think as you were speaking and saying how, we didn't see ourselves in these colleges or spaces, it's like, no, we do belong there. Like we freaking belong there, and we need to be there.
I agree. And I think even like the idea of like I feel like something that I used to really think about when I was an admissions counselor versus something that I didn't think I had was like autonomy to choose. I
Mm,
think we were
mm-hmm.
very much like pushed this idea of like you have to do this, and I always never felt like the decision was mine. Like
Yeah.
I just felt like I just have to do this, and like it
Mm-hmm.
never I never felt like I took ownership. And so I feel like when I talk to students, like I very much want them to know that like take ownership of like, because I
Yes.
feel like sometimes, especially like in Latino communities, and I feel like not only is it like Latino communities, but it's also like because we're daughters, right? Because we could do a whole other
Mm-hmm.
episode on like how parents are with their sons versus their daughters.
Oh my
Um,
God, yes. And
but I feel,
expectations and gender roles.
yes, exactly. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of times, like for us, right, like I felt like I took a lot of like, oh, like my parents have to approve. Like I feel like we give a lot of like ownership to our parents because we want them to be happy, because we want them to be comfortable. And something I always
Mm-hmm.
tell like students is like, yes, your parents are important. Yes, that they've like supported you as you got in, as you prepare to go into higher
Mhm.
ed. Pero al final del día, like el que va a estar allí vas a ser tú. So it's like, are
Mhm.
you going to be happy staying home? Are you going to be happy? Like,
Mhm.
so it's very much thinking about like kind of shifting the perspective to like, well, what's going to make you happy?
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, like, el que va a estar ahí vas a ser tú, no tus papás, no tus hermanos, no tus hermanas, but like
Mhm.
you.
Yeah. And I feel like that even goes into what major you choose, like las carreras. I feel like so
Mm-hmm.
much pressure is put into that. So when I'm out at fairs and I see like parents and I can, you can sort of like sense que quieren hablar español y quieren preguntarte, but they're unsure if you speak it, like I'll just go into it. I'm like, hola, like, tiene preguntas. And I love to see when parents are at these like fairs and they're supporting like their students and just even learning more. So I feel like there is a shift. It's going to take some time, but we need to continue to support and yeah, take ownership. It's your life. You're the one that's going to be studying that. And also another thing too is like your major does not dictate your career, y'all.
Oh,
Like one
100%.
major can lead you into so many things. And I think if we talk to alumni, what they studied in college is going to be so different of what they're doing now. So I think we also need to like shift our minds of saying like you need to do, political science to go into law. You need to go into this specific major to go into that career. Like no, you can do whatever major and go into any career after.
I agree.
Yeah.
So the next kind of question, and I feel like it's something that I think about often, is like,
Mm-hmm.
how do we navigate being professionals and advocates for students who look like us?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. I feel like we were kind of talking about this even before we started recording because it's like this battle of being like profession. I think for me, it's not only advocating for students, but even like advocating for peers and colleagues and staff, right? That you may be supervising. And I think we learn along the way. It's a lot of like having to be like careful. It's a constant like I think, tension between pushing, what the institutions want and what the policies are, but then also advocating right for like the students and being part of like those conversations, and it's asking like the hard questions as well and being willing to mentor the student as well, be there for them and challenge the policies, right? And be an advocate, which isn't easy. I feel like that's a good question. Yeah,
And we know we
making me
don't have all
think.
the answers. Yeah. Because I feel like I think about that too. Because I think even though we have very similar like trajectories, I think currently, like in
Mhm.
both of our roles, they're a little different. Because you
Mhm.
supervise full-time staff versus like I supervise students. And so for me,
Mhm.
I think like my advocacy looks a little different to yours because a
Mhm.
lot of my work is it's kind of centered around making sure that students have a sense of belonging, versus,
Yes.
working with full-time staff. So like for me, it's really about doing programming that feels welcoming to students, that makes them think
Mhm.
like, oh, like I I I have a home here, like I have a space here, or even, this past weekend we had like our admitted student event. And so even like
Mhm.
talking to parents and telling them like, hey, like your child has a home here, and even like telling them like, hey, I work in this office and we provide these resources. And for a lot
Mhm.
of, so even providing kind of just like transparency to parents about like, hey, if you're,
Mhm.
once your child comes here, like they have a home away from home. Like our office is right
Yes.
there. That's our building. So I feel like for me, that's the way in which like I advocate because I
Mhm.
work with students. And so it's kind of making sure that like they know that like it's not going to be easy. And I also like try not to sugarcoat it. I think part of like advocating is also being
Yes.
transparent, that like it's
Mhm.
not going to be
Not gonna
easy.
be
Like
easy.
it's going to be hard. Like, you're going to have challenges, but like, know that like we're with you like every step of the way is what I always like to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I think sometimes like I feel like I also try to like remind myself like how was it when I was a student, or like what are some things
Yes.
that I would have
Mm-hmm.
liked to know. And then sometimes I'm like, oh my god, like these are Gen Zers, dude. My experience is now like so far removed from
So
them.
different. I know.
So I'm just
It
like,
really
shit.
is. Because these are also students that more than likely like either did high school or middle school like through the pandemic, right? So it's very different. Their experience is very different than us. But yeah, I think being there for students, doing intentional programming, and I think for me transparency is also very important. I feel like I'm constantly, damn, I won't get fired for this, right? It's okay. But I'm constantly like being like, okay, I'm taking my manager hat off. I'm not a supervisor. This is just Diana.
Yes.
And then I'll be like, okay, I have my manager hat back on. But I feel like it's very hard to navigate being like professional and being advocates. And the other part too is that then you can sometimes be seen as the one as like, oh, you're causing problems. Here you go again, like questioning everything and not following through and not falling in line. And it's like, no, bitch, I'm not going to fall in line. Like, I'm going to ask questions and I'm going to challenge it because it's not fair. And I think, as you, at least what I've seen, I'm not speaking to everyone, speaking for everyone, because I feel like I've seen a lot of amazing like Latina leaders in higher like senior positions that are doing amazing work. But I feel like sometimes people forget where everyone started, like the
Mm-hmm.
struggles and challenges that everyone faced when everyone was first starting. And just because you're up there, right, it doesn't mean that you forget about just that we're all humans as well, and like this whole idea of like work life balance as well. um so I feel like, how do we navigate it? Just careful strategic planning and knowing when to push, and I think picking your battles too. That's a huge one for
Yeah.
me.
And I think you brought up
Yeah.
a really good point, which is the fact that like we are also learning. I feel like we do not have all the
Yes.
answers. Like we are
Mm-hmm.
still like I still consider us like young professionals. I still think
Mm-hmm.
that there's I feel like as we're teaching other students, I think we're also trying to like learn ourselves and learn like, okay, what
Mm-hmm.
else do I need to learn? Like, how else can I
Mm-hmm.
grow? And I think you brought up another good point, which is like, some like knowing when to push back. And this is
Mm-hmm.
actually recent because I literally had this conversation with Diana literally today when I told her I was like, my boss told me like I asked her if I could do something, and she told me I don't think it's a good idea. And I told Diana, I was like, dude, I'm so upset because I really want to do this. And I
Mm-hmm.
understand where she's coming from, but like, I really want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And Diana was like, well, tell her that like this is something
Mm-hmm.
really important for you.
Mm-hmm.
And, like just advocate. And I'm just like, I do it so much for other students, but then when it comes to like doing it for
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, like we
For
really
us.
struggle. And so I was like, you know
Mm-hmm.
what? Fuck it, dude. Like, no pierdo nada. So I emailed her and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I completely understand like your concerns, but I really want to do this because of X, Y, and Z. And like,
Mm-hmm.
let's come up with a plan so that I can stay on top of like my other things. And my boss was like, thank you for like providing that explanation. Like, you can go ahead and do it. Like, we'll work
Yay.
together. And so it's like also it's kind of like it's
Mm-hmm.
very complex, right? Because it's not just that
It
like we're in
is.
this role and like okay, we just have to do our job just like it's like these are the things that fall
Mm-hmm.
under like duties as assigned, honestly.
It really does that like 5-10%. That's it. Yeah, but I love that. I feel like it is. We continue to grow, and I think something that I'm always reminding myself is like I also need to make sure that I'm mentoring others and I'm, sharing my experience and what I've learned throughout the years, because I'm thankful for the mentors that did that with me, but not everyone does. I think
Mm-mm.
we've been very blessed to have. I think for the most part we've had good supervisors. Maybe una por ahí que estaba medio loca la güey, pero we'll forget about that. But yeah,
Small
that's
blemish.
huge. A little small
Mm.
one.
And so I
I
know we've been
know.
kind of talking for a while, so I kind of want to wrap it up with one last question that I feel like something we kind of talked about in the beginning of the episode, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it's good to like recenter ourselves because I feel like a lot of our life is centered around work. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what does success look like beyond degrees and titles?
Wow. You know,
I cooked.
I'm laughing because I feel like these are questions that get asked like in interviews, and I've sat in like a lot of interviews over the last year, and that's something that like candidates will ask, like, what does success look like for you? So for someone to be asking me like personally, I'm like, híjole. I think that before, success very much meant like, you know, you gotta have like a family and like a house and be making hella money, and it was very much like materialistic things, right? And of course those are all good goals. I feel like I still have those, right? Those are, things that I do want to achieve like in life, and they'll come when they come. But I think for me, the biggest thing is that I'm able to like help my family, right? That I'm able to be there for them and have this job that allows me to do that, to have that like work life balance, right? That I'm very privileged to be able to work in a hybrid model where I'm primarily home and I have to go into the office, right? Only a 1 to 2 times like a week. Like that in itself, I feel like it's such a blessing and a success for me. I think also something that I continue to work with, and I know I get a lot of shit for this, but just being able to rest without guilt and like being able to take time off, right? And really like rest. I think that's a huge one because we grew up seeing like our parents just work long hours. All of our parents are tios and tias, and they never took time off, right? And I feel like there's this idea que si no estás trabajando, eres huevón or huevona, But it's like, no, we should be able to rest and take time for ourselves and for like our family, right? And enjoy what we are earning outside of like just work. And then I think the last one for me is just being able to create access for others and being able to be like a mentor. And something that I always I feel like I say is that I don't need like grace. Well, sorry, I don't need praise, from anyone. I feel like within like my team or anyone else, like if I'm able to support them and guide them and they're able to be successful, like for me, that is success as well, right? Being able to create access and opportunities like for others.
I think that's really good. And, I'll try to
Yeah.
keep this short for myself because our producer is like, time's ticking up, wouldn't say. But I think for me, I think for me, success means, being able to like provide for yourself. I feel like knowing that like
Mm-hmm.
if there's ever like si se me antoja algo, if there's something I want to do,
Mm.
like knowing that like I can give that to myself, that like I don't have to ask someone like, hey, dame dinero para hacer esto. That I know that
Mm-hmm.
like anything that I want, I can give to myself because I've worked
Yes.
to be in a position to be able to do those things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think outside of that, right? Like I always say, like I love my job. Like I wish that I could have a sugar daddy que me mantuviera and I could just do my work for free. But I think it's like for me, I truly get joy in like building community. Like it makes me so happy to like say like, oh, I want to like I'm doing this event so that people can come together. And so I think for me, like beyond like degrees or titles, I think being able to be the person who's like creating a space for someone to say like I feel safe. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
something that like truly like brings me joy. And
Mm-hmm.
like
Fills your
despite
cup.
yeah, it definitely like fills my cup. And I think
Mm-hmm.
like you mentioned, our parents never had the opportunity to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I take
Mm-hmm.
advantage of that shit. I'll tell you, like I'm gonna call out.
She does. She does.
I was like, I got sick time. Like I take one mental health day a
Mm-hmm.
month because I
Mm-hmm.
also want to like take advantage of the fact that like I get those hours to like just
We
sit
work
and
for
like
them.
rest. We work for them, and even like, and that's why some days I work extra hard and other days I don't. Like today, my mom called me and she was like, no me has hablado. I was like, I'm locked in because I didn't do shit yesterday. So, like, knowing that, like, some days are stressful, but like, it's truly like being able to do a job that you love and then a job that provides for you and a job that provides
Mm-hmm.
spaces for others, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn, I just thought, I know we have to end because our producers are like, yeah, yeah. But maybe topic for another episode. But it's like, I mean, I see a lot of things about this too, but maybe that's why like men fear us, dude, because we're our own whole person. Like we don't need them. I mean,
Yeah,
we do want a
honestly.
partner, right? That companionship, obviously, but like we support ourselves. Yeah, we can buy our own shit. Oh, I love
I
that.
know that's definitely gonna have to be another episode because I feel like we could totally like go into depth about the fact that like we are like I feel like we're a threat to men, honestly, because it's like we don't need you to provide for us because we can provide for ourselves. Like I feel like it's something I talk to my therapist all the time where I'm just like realistically like what can a man add to my life that I don't already give myself? But that's kind of
I
off
mean, I can
topic,
think.
but
Yeah,
I mean there's one thing. But
I was like,
okay, yeah, nah. Get
bueno,
your
bueno,
head out of the gutter.
bueno, yeah. It's pa otro episode.
Yeah, next episode. But again, we want to thank you
Yeah,
all for listening. And yeah, stay tuned for our next week's episode. We will make sure to, keep y'all updated. But
yeah,
thanks again for listening.
yeah. Thanks, y'all. We're back to weekly, so see you all next time. Thank you.
Bye. We want to thank you all for listening to Chisme con Propósito.
Where the tea is hot
The takes are unfiltered.
and somehow we still make it make sense.